Welcome to the Injury to Recovery YouTube channel. My name is Greg. This is Blaine from Recover Physical Therapy in Twin Falls. Blaine, what are we talking about today?
Ankle sprains, one of the most common injuries that people have.
I had an ankle sprain a long time ago, and it was out in the middle of the wilderness. And my first aid actually worked pretty well. I stuck it in the cold stream for about an hour, and then afterwards I just had to do a little bit of rotation and I was fine.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you're dealing with stuff that's a lot more difficult than that. So what's the stuff that usually causes ankle sprains for what you've seen?
Sure, so ankle sprains are usually caused by their inversion sprains. So like if this is your foot, it's when you turn this way. So having it happen in the wilderness is common. Stepping in a hole, also very common in sports, of course. Basketball and soccer are big ones.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's get to it. We'll do some exercises on ankle sprains.
And so I'm going to talk about some exercises that kind of go in order. So assume Greg sprained his ankle today. We're going to talk about some of the first thing he wants to do. So a good one to start out with is if you lay on your bed close to a wall, and you can prop your foot way up on the wall so that your foot is high above your heart, and you can just rest your foot on the wall there. And you want to start with some early range of motion. So why don't you just start to point your toe up and down gently. And so this is getting the elevation with your foot high above your heart. Helps to pull some of the swelling out of it. And it helps to start to stretch that ankle out a little bit. And you can pump your foot up and down like he's doing. You can also roll it left and right. There you go. And that's going to feel, that might be a little bit painful if you had a really recent ankle sprain, but this is a good one to start with. And it's always good to start with these exercises with your foot high above your heart.
I'll just do this a couple of times and then I'll move it over.
Okay. And now that we're a few days out of an ankle sprain, and one thing you want to do too is you want to differentiate between a sprain and a fracture, and sometimes that can be difficult to do. So a good way to tell is if it's a true sprain, then you should be noticing pretty significant progress from day to day after you sprain it. So if you're not feeling quite a bit better each day after a sprain, then you probably want to go get it checked out and have it x-rayed to make sure it's not fractured. But if it's making substantial progress each day, then that's a pretty good sign. It's probably just a sprain. So suppose we're a few days out of an ankle sprain. So now we want to start to do some things to stretch it a little bit further and to start to strengthen it. So why don't you go ahead and prop your foot up on the bench there. So this is just a stretchy band. Again, these can be purchased very inexpensively. And you put a little bit of resistance on it, and you're just going to pull your toes up towards your head. And then as you come back down, kind of pause and let it stretch your toe downward. And just keep going up and down nice and slow. So you're going to pull it up that way as far as you can let it go, and then let it stretch this way as far as it will go. So this is a nice way to stretch out the ankle and to start to strengthen these muscles in the front of your shin bone. And we want that early mobility.
Yeah, I see a lot of definition right there.
Yep, you can see the muscle poking out as you do that. And so this is not going to damage, it might be a little uncomfortable, but it's not going to damage an ankle sprain at all. So let's have you put your foot back up there, and then I'll have you grab the end of it this time.
Okay.
And you'll just pull it way back, and you're just going to do the exact opposite, where you're just going to push down like you're pushing the gas pedal of a car. Push down as far as you can go, and then really let that band stretch you back the opposite direction as far as you can go. So this would be a good exercise to begin maybe about 4 or 5 days after an ankle sprain, assuming you're getting to the point where you can walk on it fairly normally and you're starting to put some weight on it again. And then for the next two, they're going to be left-right ones. We probably want to have you. So for these next couple exercises, instead of going forward and backward, we're going to go left and right. So I'm going to put this around his forefoot again, put a little bit of tension on it, and he's going to rotate his foot that way and let it come out. And you notice he's doing a great job at isolating the motion to his ankle right here, and his knee's not rotating left and right. So this is
not this.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah. So you're forcing the motion to come out of your ankle and not your hip. So this will start to strengthen the muscles on the inside of your ankle here. And this one is generally shouldn't be too painful. You probably won't be able to go a real far motion initially, but it'll get better as the days go by. And the next one is the exact opposite. So I'm going to just put a little bit of resistance. This one we want to be careful with because this one probably will be a little bit painful. probably not going to be able to pull it that way real far. But this is resisted E version, and so most people when they sprain their ankle, they sprain the ligaments that are on this side, and so that's why this one can be a little bit painful. But this is a great way to start to strengthen up the outer ankle.
Nice. Yeah, this was actually where I had my strain. It was on the outside like this.
Yeah.
It was going down a hill and like that.
Yeah.
And it was pretty painful because you hit your ankle on the ground.
Yes. Ankle sprains are extremely painful when they happen. And it's often hard to know if you sprained it or broke it. Yeah, but if it rolls like you're describing, if you roll your foot like this,
Yep.
then it's usually a sprain.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to know.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Next one.
So, yeah. As we go along here, this is a more advanced exercise, so you might not want to try this one for a couple weeks after the ankle sprain until you're walking pretty normally again. But this is just a calf raise on the edge of a step. And we do it on the edge of a step so that when he drops his heel down, it stretches his calf pretty good. And then as he pushes upward, he has to strengthen through a more broad range of motion. And so if this is a little too challenging for you, you can start doing it with both feet on the step. And then as you get stronger, you can start doing it with just one foot like he's doing. But that's a great way to strengthen your calf up after an ankle sprain. And that's a good thing to bring up too, because after an ankle sprain, a lot of people lose a lot of strength in their ankle because you're not using it like you normally do. And so the sooner you can start to do this, the better, because that'll help prevent the muscle atrophy. Cool. And the next one is the exact opposite. So if you put your heels on the edge of the step, and then you have your toes hanging off the edge, off the front edge.
I'll do it with both feet for right now.
Yeah, and this one's hard to do with just single leg. So he's just going to drop his toes down and then pull them way up high. And that's a great way to strengthen the ankle dorsiflexors, which are the muscles here in the front of the shin bone. So it's kind of like we were doing with the rubber band earlier. It's just a little bit more intense because you're pulling up against all your body weight there.
That's fast.
So yeah, I feel the burn that too many reps there.
It's feeling it pretty quick.
Yeah. So when you get to the later phases of rehab, so you get to the point where the calf raises are starting to get pretty easy and you're wanting to get back into sports or hiking outdoors. So this is where we want to really beef up the stability of your ankle. And the best way to do that is just to practice standing on one foot. So a good way to start is, when you're brushing your teeth in the morning and night, you can brush your teeth while you're standing on one foot. And if that's pretty easy for you, you can make it more challenging by, you can toss a ball back and forth or dribble a basketball. You can do it with your eyes closed, or you can do it while you're turning your head left and right. And that'll kind of challenge your balance a little bit more. And you can probably feel, Greg, that that's working all the muscles in your ankle fairly aggressively.
Yeah, so this immediately causes some instability.
Yes.
When I'm doing either closing my eyes or moving my head left and right.
Yeah, and you can do that. You can move your head up and down. Just do a variety of different balance challenges. And you can kind of see how when he does that, his ankle starts to look unstable, and he's really having to engage those muscles around his ankle pretty aggressively to be able to keep his balance. So this is not something you'd want to do like the day after an ankle sprain. This is something that you want to do maybe a couple weeks after, once you're walking normally again. And then if you want to make it more challenging, so what you can do is you can stand on your trampoline, or you can stand on like a pillow or a foam surface.
Take off your shoe for this probably.
Yeah, if you take your shoe off, it is going to challenge the stability a little bit more. But you can feel when you're standing on something squishy like a pillow, it just makes it that much harder. Mm-hmm. And so if you can do this, and if you can do it while you're bouncing the ball back and forth, or while you're closing your eyes, then that's a great way to challenge your balance a little bit more. So if I have a basketball player that's recovering from an ankle sprain, this is a common exercise I will do for them while they're rehabbing their ankle and getting ready to get back out on the court.
That one was pretty intense.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Blaine, thank you for talking about ankle sprains and how you can recover from them. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, so again, they're very common. Just make sure it's not a fracture, and again, you can tell that by if it's healing up pretty quickly from day to day, it's probably a sprain, not a fracture. But if it is fractured, you don't want to do these exercises because you could potentially make it worse. So if you're in doubt, it's not a bad idea to go get an X-ray. And they've done recent studies on ankle sprains, and people who do rehab after an ankle sprain, they tend to recover more quickly, and they also tend to make a more complete recovery. Because a lot of people will sprain their ankle pretty bad, and most of it kind of gets better on its own usually, but they might get up to like that 90%, but there's still that little bit of nagging instability or pain. And so if you go through a course of therapy after an ankle sprain, you're more likely to hit that 100% mark where you get back to where you were.
Awesome. Well, thanks a bunch, and we will catch you guys next week.